everybody. It is Wednesday, November 20th. I am Jessica for Justice. Thank you, everybody, for joining me tonight. Hi, Virginia. Hi, where's Chloe? Christy, Tash, appreciate y'all being here. A lot has happened today in the news, in the crime world. I've been working a lot, so I haven't been able to stream in the morning like I normally do. So I wanted to jump on here and do a live. So, here, I'm just checking my lighting a little bit. Let me fix that real quick. Because I look a lot brighter on my computer than I do looking at YouTube. Anyway. Hi, Silly. Hi, Ricky. All right. So, a lot has happened. Let me pull up my playlist. So, some good things in the justice space, some not so good. So I do want to warn you guys, of course, these stories do have to do with, people being murdered, people being hurt, but there are children involved. And I know that children are extra tough. So just, again, want to warn you all.
This program contains subject matter and language that may be disturbing to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Viewer discretion is advised, and you're, always welcome to take a break, come back, join us. We'll still be here. Make sure to take care of your mental health. So the first thing we are going to talk about is Susan Smith. Susan Smith murdered her children. I think it was 91 or 92, 30 years ago, and she was up for parole. And so we're going to talk about that. I'm going to show some news clips from that. No, I'm drinking LaCroix. Seltzer water. I'm not going to drink Celsius this late, though caffeine doesn't normally keep me awake. I remembered when this happened when I was a kid, because, how can you forget seeing this on the news? My family was very much, we're going to have dinner at the breakfast bar area, and then they're going to watch the 6:00 news with Tom Brokaw. So I can still remember the theme in my head. All right. So I have a little clip that's the trailer, I guess, which is a summary of everything. And then I have some clips with updates from the parole hearing. So I'm going to do a couple videos of her before we move on to some other stuff. Oh, I have to share. Hold on. I got to share the screen. That would help. Yeah, the jury spared her life. They could have given her the death penalty. They didn't. If anybody deserves life without parole, I think it's her.
This is the wedding album of Susan and David that she had put in the trunk of the car to sync with the rest of the life that she was trying to leave behind.
I think Susan's wedding album, her wedding dress, the kids, basically everything to do with her marriage was in that car. We test the car, and the reason I test the car, I wanted to know as much scientifically as I could know. How long did it float? What would the boys have been facing? The car finally turns down like this, and you're seeing from the boys' point of view, and water comes up through the vents in the floorboard and ultimately covers, the camera would have been the boy's face. And it literally made it hard for you to breathe.
You'll see a detailed walkthrough of evidence from the case and why David Smith, the boy's father, argues 30 years isn't enough punishment. See the premiere of the documentary on News 13's YouTube page, and Wednesday, catch our full coverage from Susan Smith's parole hearing.
Well, If you want to watch the documentary, it's on ABC 13. And then I have a different news station with the parole hearing clip. I tried to pick the longest one with the most information.
Denied. That was the swift decision today from a parole board regarding 53-year-old Susan Smith getting out of jail for the murder of her two young sons, Michael and Alex. Thanks for sticking with us for the second half hour of Friends Today. I'm Andrea Mock. Want to get you caught up on this breaking news. Smith was convicted for murder for strapping those two young boys into their car seats back in 1994 and then driving her car into a lake in Union County, killing them, the lake you just saw there. She claimed she wasn't thinking straight that day, but former solicitor Tommy Pope and current solicitor of the 16th District, Kevin Brackett, both spoke at the hearing today, telling the board that Smith knew exactly what she was doing. And they also said the man she was having an affair with told her he didn't want children. And a week later, this is what happened. Both men say Smith has not shown remorse in her behavior in prison that includes infractions for drugs and for speaking to a documentary team. Here's what both of them had to say after the decision was made today to deny parole.
The sad thing is that every 2 years, as David said, the clock starts ticking. I mean, 30 years seems like it went like this, but the flip side is that this is a strong family. David has put it from the beginning that it's about Michael and Alex. And as long as I can draw breath and be here to support them, and I know the family feels the same, we'll be here.
If she were released, she would capitalize on this. She would attempt to monetize her fame. She does not need to be out of jail. She needs to stay in jail. These boys had 140 to 150 years of life ahead of them. She should stay there at least that long.
Well, again, the current solicitor speaking about the fact that she was just reprimanded in October behind bars for speaking to a documentary team, which is against South Carolina law. Former Solicitor Pope, though, said he spoke to jury members who thought a life sentence for Smith was actually better than the death penalty because this was a death penalty case back in 1995. But he said that the jurors told them they wanted Smith to think about what she had done to her two boys every day. So many people spoke against her release today. One of them, David Smith, the father of Michael and Alex. And Smith told the board he had a very hard time living and being able to live without his boys. He says Susan has never once told him that she was sorry for killing their children. He said he knows the law back in 1995 was 30 to life, but he says that is not nearly enough for the life of his two beloved boys.
And she made free choice that night to end her life. This wasn't a tragic mistake. It wasn't something that she didn't mean to do. She purposely meant to end her life. So I'm asking that you please deny her parole today. And hopefully in the future, but specifically today. Not let her out. I miss them very much. And I love them very much. And I will be here every 2 years going forward to ensure that their death doesn't go in vain.
Well, David got his request today again, and she was denied parole. He was commenting on the fact that since the law was different back in 1995, it was 30 to life. So she will be eligible for parole every 2 years. And David was remarried. You saw in that video, he's sitting next to his new wife, and they have a daughter together. And that daughter spoke at the hearing today on what it was like to grow up in a house without her older brothers.
Since I came after the fact, what I had stolen from me was two older brothers, the good and the bad of having older siblings. And I now try to use my life as a way to live for them. And growing up, I didn't quite understand it my whole life, but when I finally did, I felt like I had witnessed it, like I was there.
Well, for full coverage of today's hearing, you can go to the WLTX Plus app on Apple, Roku, and Fire Stick. Look for.
And if you want to, there is like a reenactment recorded of, how the car sank. So I'm very glad that, I'm very, very glad that the parole was denied. Sorry, I was trying to read something at the same time. However, this family has to go through this every 2 years. Every 2 years, he has to go up there and testify and relive all that. And then, of course, the media is going to be there. So it's not even something that he can go through privately if he wanted to, because that's just the nature of this, because it's such a well known situation. It's, yeah, it's horrible. And I really, really hate that for them. I hate it so much. Why does this? That is the wrong video. Sorry, I'm trying. I was going to play the next thing, but the video I saved is the wrong one. Anyway, I hate so much that families have to go through this every 2 years. I know many families uh, that have to go through this. I have sat and been there because Crime Stoppers in Houston has a program where they record the video, um, just in case something happens to them. Then that video can be played at the parole board. And some of the details and some of the stuff that they say that has happened to their loved one, like people like that should not ever have the opportunity for parole. There's just some things that are, to me, that are just so heinous and just so horrific that, like, you should not have the ability for parole, life without parole. And I just think that Susan Smith is one of them. And every 2 years, it should be at the very minimum, I think 5 years, because 24 months really isn't that long. It's really not at all that long. It's going to fly by, and they're never going to be able to not have to deal with this and think about it. So to me, it's he's being punished too. He's already been punished, and it's just, I hope that she never gets out. That's all I can hope for, because she definitely does not deserve it. Um, so I think that they made the right decision, and I'm very glad that she's going to be locked up at least 2 more years, but especially someone with infractions, like, Poke Mom said, she continuously has infractions, so she's not listening to what, what she's supposed to do now. Why is she going to listen out in the real world? All right, so the next case that we're going to talk about is Lake and Riley. Her trial was this week, and thankfully, they did get a guilty verdict. She was murdered by a Venezuelan that was here that wasn't supposed to be here, and she fought really hard for her life, and she was able to basically collect evidence so they could prove what happened, and the injuries that she did helped with everything, and she had scratched and all that. So again, this was justice, the best you can do, life without parole, thank God. So her family won't have to deal with this. Hopefully no laws change, because that happens too, where laws change and then they have to deal with the person possibly getting out. Yeah, this is another heartbreaking story. There's so many. It's just, I hate that there's so many families that have to deal with this horrific pain, because nobody should have to deal with that.
Joining us, we want to begin with the swift verdict and maximum sentence handed down today in the murder of Laken Riley. A Georgia judge found 26-year-old Venezuelan migrant Jose Ibarra guilty on all counts and sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Ibarra entered the country illegally, and the murder fueled the heated debate over the southern border during the race for president. The sentencing followed a heart-wrenching statement from Riley's mother, who said her daughter's life was not the only one taken on that February day when she went for a jog on the University of Georgia campus. Her mother said the life of her family and friends was taken too soon. None of us will ever be the same. CBS's Manuel Bojorquez leads us off from the courthouse in Athens, Georgia.
Count 1, malice murder. I find the defendant guilty.
Sobbing could be heard in the courtroom as the judge found Jose Ibarra guilty on all 10 counts.
Count 3, felony murder. I find the defendant guilty.
After the verdict, Laken Riley's family and friends addressed the court. Her mother, Allison Phillips, spoke first.
On that horrific day, my precious daughter was attacked, beaten, and shown no mercy. She fought for her life and dignity and to save herself from being brutally raped. This sick, twisted, and evil coward showed no regard for Laken or human life. We are asking that same be done to him. He took my best friend.
Riley's younger sister, Lauren, says Laken was her biggest protector and best friend.
I am completely disgusted having to even look and be in the same room as him. That predator is inhumane and is the epitome of evil.
Her roommate, Connolly Huff, wore one of Riley's shirts to court today and said they often ran together.
I live with excruciating guilt every day that I was not accompanying Laken on this run, and that it was her and not me.
The prosecutor then played the police body cam video of the moment her family was told she was dead. She let Riley have the last word in her closing argument, saying the fight she put up left DNA evidence implicating Ibarra.
She scratched him. She marked him. She marked him for everyone to see. She marked him for you to see.
The case became a flashpoint in the debate over border security and illegal immigration during the presidential campaign. Ibarra is an undocumented immigrant. In a statement today, President-elect Trump said, although the pain and heartbreak will last forever, hopefully this can help bring some peace and closure to her wonderful family. Because the defense decided to forego a trial by jury, the judge was the sole decider in this case, and he did it quickly, coming back with the guilty verdict less than 30 minutes after closing arguments. Nora?
So tough to hear all.
Yeah, I don't really know what they thought was going to happen with the trial with the judge. Did they think that the judge might be more lenient than a jury? So part of the mother's impact statement that I want to read, it says, there is no end to the pain, suffering, and loss that we have experienced or will continue to endure on that horrific day. My precious daughter was attacked, beaten, and shown no mercy. She fought for her life and dignity and to save herself from being brutally raped. That was part of what they said, but they didn't read the first part in the news clip. So that there is no end to the pain, suffering, and loss that they have experienced. This is something that they'll have to deal with and go through for the rest of their lives. But they know that he's behind bars and they won't have to deal with the parole. This is the best outcome in a situation like this. There's not really anything more you can do other than, you can't bring her back. And, she had a lot of friends and family that obviously love and care about her very, very much. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm like, why is this all about the same case? That's because I had to pull that one. Let me remove this. All right, so let me pull up the next video. So the next case that we're going to talk about is Gabby Petito. The Petito family had filed a lawsuit against law enforcement Uh, because if you're familiar, then you know that law enforcement interacted with Gabby much earlier, and they should have intervened, and they didn't intervene. The family has been getting laws passed to help with domestic violence. So I'm really, really sad to see that the lawsuit was thrown out by a judge. I think that they deserved to let it go to trial. I think that law enforcement failed Gabby, and I was really, really sad to see this today. I've met her family. They are the sweetest, nicest people. I've got to meet them 2 years in a row and talk to them for a little bit. And they're just, like I said, the loveliest people. So, yeah, extra, extra sad to see this. Like, I was glad about the parole being denied and Lake and Riley's murderer getting guilty, but then I saw that. Now I gotta share the screen. Sorry, I forgot to switch screens. Yes, Poke Mom. Yes, they should have taken him to jail. 1000%. That's why they should be able to have the lawsuit move forward.
Good afternoon, everyone. With Tamara Baifanua, I'm Sheriff Park. New at noon, the Gabby Petito case back in focus. A judge making a decision to grant the defense's motion to dismiss the family of Gabby Petito's requested lawsuit against the Moab Police Department.
News specialist Kara Bracken joins us now live. Kara, what led up to the decision today in court?
I was listening to the court, what happened there, and they were hearing from both the state as well as Gabby Petito's family attorney. And the state is arguing that a lawsuit should not be made against the Moab Police Department. Now, meanwhile, you're hearing from the Gabby Petito, that side of things, and they're arguing that a lawsuit should, in fact, be made against the police department. Both sides were arguing why they believe the police department should or should not be accountable for Gabby Petito's death.
The family of Gabby Petito asking the state to end police immunity in a $50 million lawsuit against the Moab Police Department, noting days before she died, Moab police were called to a domestic violence complaint involving the pair. You'll recall 22-year-old Gabby Petito was murdered by her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, 3 years ago. Before she died, the pair was in Moab, where police interaction with the couple is under scrutiny. The family thinks those responding did not take the complaint seriously. Their attorney argued Petito's family placed belief in the officers they were handling the situation when Gabby told them police were involved. The attorney going on to say there was a reliance there on the officers that ultimately let them down, and murder could have been prevented had police responded differently.
So there's a reliance here. And that reliance, though reasonable, was misplaced. As we set out in the complaint, the investigation was grossly negligent. And so much so, in fact, that it actually elevated the risk of harm to Gabby.
Defending the state, Attorney Mitchell Stevens referred to timeline, saying August 12th, Gabby and Brian were in Moab, and while tragic, she was not killed until 38 days later in Wyoming. He stated it's speculation to say Moab police could have stopped what ultimately happened to Gabby, referring back to Captain Ratcliffe, who led an investigation into what happened with the pair.
Only speculation could answer that. In fact, here's what Captain Ratcliffe wrote. There are many what-ifs that have been presented as part of this investigation. The primary one being, would Gabby be alive today if this case was handled differently? That's an impossible question to answer. Nobody knows, and nobody will ever know how to answer that question.
Now, the judge's ruling was made so it can be reviewed on appeal if it does make it over to the Court of Appeals if they decide to take up that issue. Guys, I'll send it back to you.
Oh, well, let's see what happens in the Court of Appeals. One can only hope. All right. So, yeah, I feel really, really bad for them. I really hate this for them. And they'll keep on fighting. And they are doing some really good work in her honor with getting laws passed and bringing awareness to domestic violence. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is really, really quickly Brian Kohlberger was back in the news. The defense was trying to get some stuff thrown out.
We begin tonight with some breaking news. Just moments ago, we've learned an Ada County judge has ruled the man who is accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students can face the death penalty if he is convicted. Earlier this month, Brian Kohlberger's defense team had pushed to remove the death penalty as a possible form of punishment if he was found guilty. According to newly filed court documents, Ada County Judge Stephen Hippler denied those motions this afternoon. This all comes as the prosecution says they now intend to seek the death penalty if Kohlberger is convicted. For more on this story, you can go to our website.
Well, I guess we will see. We know it's on the table now for sure. Okay, so there has been so much stuff going on in New York. There's a few stories that I have from New York, all involving stabbings, slashings. So, we talk about guns a lot, but knives are a big problem too. It's not just guns. There was a stabbing spree in Seattle not that long ago. People are just losing their damn mind. So a tourist from Denmark was slashed. And there was another person that went on a stabbing spree in New York and people died. Yeah, so it's been really crazy in New York. So Tash, be super, super careful. Please. Carry a bigger knife or something, or pepper spray.
A tourist from Denmark randomly slashed on the Upper West Side. It happened on a busy street.
And tonight, the suspect is still on the run. Alan Devlin now live on 86th Street with a video of this disturbing attack. Alan?
Yeah, Maurice and Christine, it all happened right outside of this residential building here on 86th Street. The victim actually got slashed right in the face, and the suspect ran off down the block here. He's still on the run, and cameras on the side of this building actually caught the whole thing. That's the video I want to show you right here, right now. Take a look at your screen. You can see here this video shows that attack. The victim, police say a tourist visiting from Denmark, seen in the black jacket. He ducks forward after getting stabbed in the ear and face. The suspect in the gray short sleeve shirt holding that knife, lunging at him from behind, a complete surprise attack. Now, on top of that, police say these two men didn't even know each other. There was no relation, and this attack was random. Video then shows that suspect running back down the street in the opposite direction, and police say he shouted obscenities back towards the victim who was laying on the ground. The suspect, again, the one in the gray shirt, still on the run at this hour. Police were out here quick, and EMS got the victim to a nearby hospital. He thankfully is expected to be okay. But the neighbors and shop owners up and down 86 remain uneasy. I spoke to one employee who heard it all go down.
When I peered down the road, I saw there was like blood already on the ground, and then he ran away. All my customers that came in earlier were not happy about it. They said they live in the area and they thought it was really safe.
And I spoke to one man who actually lives in this residential building. He didn't want to go on camera, didn't want to speak to us on camera, but he said he walked outside of his building around 10:30 a.m. this morning to that victim laying at his feet bleeding. He says he's glad he's okay, but everybody up and down 86th looking over their shoulders a little more often here tonight. We're live on the Upper West Side. Alan Devlin, CBS News, New York.
And sadly, like I said, not the only stabbing, slashing. So in Brooklyn, a father and daughter were found with their necks slashed in a Brooklyn home. A little bit different than a random attack on the street, but this is also absolutely horrific.
A disturbing story out of Brooklyn. Police have identified the father and daughter who were found dead with their throats slashed in their home in Cypress Hills. News 4's Gabi Acevedo live this afternoon. Gabi, I understand you have some new information from police?
That is correct. Police are looking into this case. I saw detectives coming in and out of the home during the day. And at this hour, you can see behind me, family and neighbors gathered to honor the victims in a vigil. They're all in shock about the violence that happened at this home here in Cypress Hills, where father and daughter lived for over 30 years. And Natalie, as you mentioned tonight, police sources are telling News 4 they have someone in for questioning. Investigators working the crime scene after a gruesome discovery inside this two-story Brooklyn home.
You hear things like this and you know, but when it hits home, words can't even describe.
Police say 66-year-old Jacqueline DeLyons and her father, 91-year-old Roseville Simmons, both found dead on the kitchen floor of their house on Warwick Street. Their throats had been slit.
Feeling and just trying to get a sense of why and what happened and how it, everything. And we don't have any of those answers.
Bubba was a good person, him and his daughter, It's tragedy what happened.
Roseville Simmons was known to people in the community as Bubba. Friends of the family say Jackie was a very religious person and that in recent years, she was sharing one of the floors inside the home with a man.
Before this horrific incident happened, she was writing down some scriptures with her brother and herself at a prayer line.
Detectives canvassed the scene looking for evidence. Police sources are questioning someone in connection to this case. Neighbors tell News 4 it's a man who also lived in the building.
I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened with this guy. This guy was calm and peaceful. I never heard the guy curse a day in his life. None of that.
It's shocking to me. He doesn't seem the kind of person that would do something like that.
As we bring you back live, we're now waiting on word for any possible motive in this case. The family of the victim has respectfully asked us for privacy at this time. Reporting live from...
So also in Philadelphia today, a neighbor went over and killed his elderly neighbors that were outside and then killed himself. Yeah, I don't know. There's so much of this kind of stuff going on. And there was somebody else that was also stabbing people in New York and killed some other people.
Also tonight, in just the last couple of hours here in New York, we're getting some new details on that deadly stabbing spree that killed 2 people and sent 1 person to the hospital in critical condition. I want to show you some of this here. A brand new surveillance video showing the suspect just moments before his first attack this morning. So he puts on gloves, you see that there, and then pulls out what looks like a big knife out of a little backpack. Not long before he allegedly carried out the first of 3 apparently unprovoked stabbings. We also now know the suspect's identity, confirmed to NBC News by 2 officials. 51-year-old Raymond Rivera, with an extensive criminal history, 8 arrests in just the past year, 7 of which were felonies. Officials say he also had a documented history of mental health concerns. Police arrested Rivera shortly after his 3rd attack this morning. I want to bring in Antonia Hilton with the latest. What happened here? What is the timeline of this, and how were police finally able to catch up with him?
Yeah, Hallie, this is a shocking and horrifying story, and it really is an unbelievable one. I'm right at the scene of one of the stabbings that happened just before 11 a.m. But this all actually got started just moments before 8:30 a.m. this morning. According to officials, the suspect, Ramon Rivera, was on the west side of Manhattan when he, unprovoked, attacked a 36-year-old construction worker right outside of his work site. That man passed away. He then walked across to the east side of Manhattan, attacked another man, a 68-year-old who was out fishing this morning, killed him as well before he came to the block where I am right now and attacked unprovoked a 36-year-old woman who is now in the hospital fighting for her life. Take a listen to one of the eyewitnesses describing the scene and his arrest.
He put his hands up. He went on the ground, no struggle, no anything. He didn't fight the cops. Went on his stomach, and then they opened the bag. And as soon as they opened the bag and they dumped it upside down, a mask came out and 2 really big knives. And one of them, like I said, looked like it had blood on it.
And so much of this was by chance. The NYPD saying in a presser earlier today that it was a cab driver who called and tipped off the NYPD to what was happening. Other witnesses shouting on the street, and that the officer who actually arrested him did not understand at the time that he was the man responsible for all 3 of these stabbings, Sally.
You mentioned this suspect's apparent history of mental health issues, arrests, etc. What else do we know about that?
Yeah, according to the authorities, he has a long and documented history of mental health challenges and also of arrest charges, mostly involving burglaries. And he was a homeless individual here in New York City, most recently, according to the police, staying at the Bellevue Men's Shelter in the city. Mayor Eric Adams talked about this in the presser this morning, saying that this case is really an example of some of the failures and continued problems in our criminal justice system and the mental health services here in the city. Take a listen to him talking about this.
It's preliminary now, but he was sentenced a few months ago. And there's some real questions that we need to look at on why he was on the street. And he has some severe mental health issues.
And our team spent time here in New York talking to New Yorkers about their reaction, what they witnessed and experienced. And I mean, as you can see behind me there, this is a residential block. As we've been here talking to you, Hallie, families trying to get by past the crime scenes with their babies in strollers. People are incredibly shaken by this, although very grateful that the suspect is now behind bars. Hallie.
Antonia Hilton, thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, this is a consistent issue. I am no longer surprised that somebody with 7 felonies and 2 misdemeanors all arrested in the same year. I'm not surprised, not shocked. Definitely have seen worse. So sometimes there's like constitutional state laws that they have to follow, and sometimes it's the judges making the decision. Sometimes it's the district attorneys not filing the charges. That's why it's important to see, what is your district attorney doing? What are the judges doing? Is your mayor contributing to this problem? There's so many things that go into when it comes to crime in a city. So those are the things that we can do in our own city. Support laws that help victims. We typically don't get much support when we go to the Capitol. But if there's something for criminal rights or whatever, they have hundreds of people, and sometimes we battle with some of the laws and it's tough. So definitely need support when legislation happens. Write your senators, write your Congress people, vote, and hold judges accountable, hold the district attorney accountable. That's literally all we can do. Let's see what else. Nope. Okay, let me move this story. A stolen wallet at Costco led to a multi-state crime spree. All right, I haven't watched this, so let's see. This is from St. Louis.
First on Fox, a shopping trip goes wrong at a Manchester Costco, leading to a multi-state investigation, which uncovered a sophisticated crime spree.
And tonight, the 3 suspects are still on the loose. Fox News' Taylor Harris reports live in Manchester with a look at how detectives cracked this case. Taylor?
I'm standing outside of the Manchester Justice Center, just across from the Costco, where police say a woman's credit cards were stolen, and the Walmart where those stolen credit cards were used in April of 2023. What began as a quick theft led to a multi-state investigation, revealing a broader crime spree, resulting in felony charges against suspects from Chicago. It all began when a shopper's wallet was taken from her cart at Costco. Within minutes, her stolen credit cards were used at a nearby Walmart. Police stated one of the transactions included $400 in gift cards. Police say the suspects used 3 of her cards to launder money.
The husband of the victim got a fraud alert that the card was getting used at Walmart, called his wife, and she thought the card was stolen in her purse. Our officers went over to Walmart, but the suspects were gone already. But they were able to retrieve video and get pictures, and the pictures led them to a vehicle out in a parking lot.
Police reviewed surveillance video from both stores and identified the suspect's vehicle, a blue 2021 Volkswagen Tiguan SUV. 2 suspects, 58-year-old Reginald McNeil and 37-year-old LaDaisy Atwater, both from Chicago, have been charged with felony theft and fraudulent credit card use. The 3rd suspect remains unidentified.
But returning back to Costco, we found out that Costco's internal loss prevention had information of these incidents and these suspects, involved in Indiana.
Detectives link the suspects to similar thefts at Costco locations across multiple states with the help of Manchester police detectives. Residents are grateful for Manchester police.
Makes us locals feel a lot better to have cops that are looking after it and making sure that these people are being caught for it.
The suspects remain on the loose, but police say they have issued arrest warrants. If you see the suspects or the blue Volkswagen Tiguan SUV, you need to call 911 immediately. Reporting from Manchester, Taylor.
Don't put your wallet in your cart. People are quick. Definitely not blaming the victim, but they will steal. They're opportunists. They'll see it, they'll steal it. I only take a purse to work to carry stuff in there. Other than that, when I go anywhere, I don't have a purse. I have all my credit cards on my case on my phone. And no, I'm not going to lose my phone. So I'm way too paranoid for that. So another issue that is becoming an epidemic all over the country is people stealing postal workers' keys, the master key, or breaking into the boxes. So this is not the only incident where I've seen this. There is a guy that is dressed as a postal worker that has the master key going into an apartment building, stealing packages.
Tonight, the search is on for an imposter. Philadelphia police say this guy may look like a postal worker, but he's actually a thief out to steal packages right at the start of this busy holiday season. And now police want you to be on the lookout before he strikes again. Here's our Steve Keeley.
I'm scared because, I don't know, I feel like I would fall for that.
That being the simple act of kindness holding the apartment building door open for the mailman. Not unknowingly being an unwitting accomplice for this guy. Dressed and posing as a mailman, Philadelphia detectives tell us. They say he, quote, piggybacked his way in, went in with the help of an unassuming tenant, thinking this was a legit mailman. But instead of delivering the mail and packages, he was stealing them, police say. Even casually opening the Amazon boxes right here on the table in the lobby, taking only what he wanted, stuffing the goods into his backpack until full, while dragging out bigger marked boxes of electronics here on North 15th Street, among a strip of near-campus Temple student housing, impersonating a U.S. postal mailman, dressed with the U.S. Postal Service emblem right on his knit hat and another U.S. postal patch on his blue hooded sweatshirt with matching blue pants.
We got an email recently here that there were a lot of people that were like grabbing or stealing packages, or just to be like wary on who to let inside the building. And
you wouldn't second guess that it's not the mailman.
I would definitely let them in the building because I wouldn't know any better.
That's not right. That's not fair. You know, it got, maybe now they need some type of tag or something saying, you know.
They're the real mailman.
Yes.
He opened up the packages and everything.
Philly police say the same postal impersonator pulled this off other times too, committing thefts on several other occasions, they say. This heist, captured on the apartment building's lobby surveillance, happened October 23rd. So this was October 23rd.
Wow, that's my birthday. That is a crazy coincidence.
Dan doesn't know if an intended birthday gift was among the items stolen. And we caught up with an Amazon driver while he was delivering a fresh round of packages to the same building tonight, who told us package theft is now an everyday problem.
This is crazy. This happens every time and all the time. And sometimes we have to deal with that because some people think we didn't deliver.
I'm sure they'll be able to identify them though, because that is pretty good.
Your faith is way too high,
Steve
sir. Don't assume. Package theft isn't really like high on the crime radar. And that Amazon worker, he shouldn't have talked to the press. That could definitely get him in trouble. And I hate that. I hope he doesn't get in trouble because companies are weird about talking to, media without their permission. So, you have to worry about people dressing up as package postal worker and FedEx and all that stuff, UPS. So they're also targeting the postal workers for their keys. So this is another story to explain that.
Here's the timeline. Last month, an audit by the USPS Inspector General found master keys were unaccounted for or unsecured in multiple Maryland post offices that they visited. Then separately last week, the U.S. Attorney for Maryland announced that a resident pleaded guilty to using stolen USPS master keys, collecting dozens of checks and credit cards worth thousands of dollars. In recent years, criminals haven't just been stealing your mail and packages. USPS data shows mail carriers are increasingly the main target. In 2019, 64 letter carriers were robbed nationwide. In 2023, that number was on pace to hit more than 600, an increase of 850%. The reason, Frank Albergo says, arrow keys. What are arrow keys and why are they so important in this discussion?
Criminals figured out, well, keys open locks. Letter carriers have these keys, so let's rob a letter carrier, and then we'll have access to all the mail.
Albergo is the national president of the Postal Police Officers Association. And he says these arrow keys can open blue collection boxes, apartment mailboxes, cluster boxes, and P.O. boxes in a given zip code.
So once a criminal has that arrow key, it's a free pass to steal mail.
But here's the thing. Albergo says there's a federal police force that used to handle these exact crimes.
And for 50 years, we were out on the streets protecting the mail and protecting postal workers. In 2020, that all ended.
In 2020, USPS officials decided postal police officers should only protect USPS property, meaning Baltimore, one of the 20 cities where these officers used to protect the mail and the people who deliver it, no longer has these officers patrolling the streets.
So it's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster.
In response to questions from 11 News Investigates, a spokesperson for the U.S. Postal Inspection Service said thousands of arrow key locks have been replaced with electronic locks, with more to come. He added, these updated mechanisms have an electronic component that thieves will be unable to duplicate, like a two-factor authentication. But Albergo says the number of locks they're replacing is not enough.
Their big plan is to replace less than 1% of the arrow key locks. And somehow this is going to stop mail theft.
In January, this audit by the USPS Inspector General found the Cambridge and Easton post offices in Maryland were not adequately protecting their arrow keys. In Cambridge, the Inspector General found 2 spare keys that were not accounted for on the log. In Easton, the IG noted the arrow keys were not secured and were left unattended. The IG's concern, based on these findings, an increased risk of mail theft. Then last week, the U.S. Attorney for Maryland announced Andrew Martin of Silver Spring pleaded guilty in part to unlawful possession of U.S. Postal Service keys used to access U.S. Postal Service mail receptacles. What Martin stole? A stack of credit cards, 2 identification cards, 5 debit cards, and 49 checks worth approximately $80,000.
It's a shame because, the Postal Service is an American institution. It's one of the finest. It's one of the most beloved. And it's slowly but surely being destroyed by mail theft.
There's currently legislation making its way through Congress that would restore postal police officers' ability to patrol the streets, protecting mail and mail carriers. A spokesperson for the U.S. Postal Inspection Service tells me they think those officers are more useful protecting USPS property. For 11 News Investigates, I'm
Clearly not when mail theft is such a problem. Like, that's just ridiculous. I think that they were doing a pretty good job because it wasn't as much as a problem as it is now. Like, I think that we need them back. That's ridiculous. All right, so I was talking about how bad Houston can be in the chat. Next news is coming out of Houston. They found a body in Buffalo Bayou. So that is the 10th body found in that area since June. Not like that specific area, but you'll see.
Tonight, investigators are looking into the death of a person whose body was found in Buffalo Bayou. It is the 10th incident involving a body discovered at or near a bayou. And as you can see from this map, Nearly a dozen bodies discovered in Houston bayous since this summer. Fox 26 is Dominique Keith joining us live in East Houston, where the latest body was discovered. Dominique.
Yeah, Anthony, there have now been 10 bodies found in Houston area bayous since June. The latest to have been discovered is believed to be a man, and he was found in Buffalo Bayou this morning. He had been shot and was found floating in Buffalo Bayou around 9 o'clock this morning, and he was actually found by Houston police officers. The dive team had been searching for a different man who had been chased by University of Houston police on saw that man jump into the boat, who had been searching for a different man who had been chased by University of Houston police on Sunday, and the HPD dive team, the U of H police saw that man jump into the bayou, but then they didn't see him resurface, so they asked the dive team to come and take a look. However, the man found this morning was not the same guy.
There is some signs of trauma. So we don't know the cause of death at this point till a forensic pathologist has a chance to conduct the autopsy.
If you have any information about who this man is or what happened to him, the Houston Police Department would like to hear from you. Reporting live.
Sorry, I hit a button and then closed the other screen. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, so 10 bodies found near bayous in Houston since June. So June to July, July to August, September. So 5 months. That's a lot. But some of them, they could have been drunk, whatever. I don't know. Because it's not always, something nefarious. But we'll see. That's what the pathologist is going to say. So the next story is coming out of Australia. An Australian grandmother was arrested in Japan for drug smuggling, and Japan's really tough on drugs. Even if you have a prescription from the United States, there's some things that you just can't bring in.
An Australian grandmother on trial for allegedly smuggling drugs into Japan will take to the stand today as her desperate family pleads for her freedom. Donna Nelson has already been behind bars in Japan for nearly 2 years and will learn her fate next month. We're joined by Donna's daughter, Crystal, live in Tokyo. Crystal, thank you so much for your time. It must have been an incredibly difficult time for you, this whole process. How are you doing? How's the family?
It's a pretty tough, grueling week so far for us. And one of the hardest parts is seeing the difficulty that Mum has in this week as well. It's just a lot of emotions all round. So we're really drawing on the strengths of one another, and we hope that Mum feels strong through the strength that we have.
I think that is on display, the strength that you are showing. You hadn't seen your mum in nearly 2 years before this trial. To see her in that courtroom, tell me about that.
Oh, it was hard. So every morning when we first walk in, she's escorted in and she's got her cuffs on. That's something that was really hard to prepare for. Like, nobody wants to see their mother in that sort of manner. And then as she's walking in with those cuffs on, she's looking at us and she's crying, and just not having the ability to hug her or tell her that it's okay, to comfort her in any way. It's really hard emotionally, and the days are just really draining.
The whole thing would be draining for family. There's no question about that. And court is incredibly stressful. When you first, let me take you back, when you first found out about her being arrested, you must have had so many questions. What was that period like for you and the family?
Well, first, we didn't actually find out where she was or if she was okay. So there were a number of days where we just didn't hear from her, and we were trying to call her, trying to contact her. I remember not sleeping, not eating, thinking the worst, that maybe she's been in an accident and is no longer alive. So when we got the news that she had been arrested for having drugs on her, I remember thinking, this must be a mistake. Maybe she had some medication that she forgot to declare, and it's all going to be cleared up, and she's going to be on a plane back home in a few days. I remember Dad had to explain to me, no, that's not the case. I don't think she'll be home in a few days. And that was really, really hard to come to terms with.
Crystal, how did she get herself into this mess?
Oh, I'm sure that's the question that so many people wonder. A big part of it is that this guy that she was talking to, he had facilitated all of this, but she thought that she was in love with this person, and she thought she was coming to Japan to pursue him and have her marriage plans come to fruition. They planned on building their lives together. It's just really horrible how much he drew her in over those 2 years. And I think in court, people were able to see the kind of...
It's meth. Japan is like one of the worst countries to try to smuggle in. And they're saying she's a victim of a love scam and he tricked her into bringing stuff in and she didn't know. I was thinking it was going to be medication. She probably does not have a great chance of getting out of this at all whatsoever. Japan does not care at all. So the next part that I have for you guys is my favorite part. So I found a news channel that actually has Feel Good Friday stories with animals. So I'm going to totally watch them to steal those to end it with animals. So here we go.
All right, let's head back out to the Fox News Now set.
That's right. Pilar Arias has been streaming all day, and she has, I believe, some cute, what do we call it, Friday?
I said furry friend Friday.
Yes. We're gonna coin that.
Even more animal videos. I know you guys just had the goats, but these will pull at your heartstrings on a feel-good Friday. Perhaps that's the best way. So this first one I have for you, we see the welcome home videos all the time. People serving in the military, surprising their spouses or surprising their children. Well, what about surprising your loved furry one? Watch this.
What is that, bud? What is that? What's that? What's that, buddy? What is that, buddy?
Yeah, an Army pilot deployed to Afghanistan returns home in Illinois and gets his four-legged wingman back to Zach Mahaska, returned home to Woodstock, Illinois after doing a 4-month tour of duty in Afghanistan. When he got back, he and his family decided to see if his dog, a golden retriever named Buddy, could do a manhunt for a reunion with his old missing pal. Now, Buddy was adopted by Zach while he was in flight school. All right, this next one I have for you.
Come on, sweetie. Okay, lower the tub a little bit.
Yeah, this is in Florida. Over 1,000 people gathered today to cheer the release of 2 sea turtles who were rescued and rehabilitated at the Florida Keys-based Turtle Hospital. Both were fitted with satellite tracking transmitters and returned to the ocean to become part of the Tour de Turtles, which is an annual event organized by the Sea Turtle Conservancy to follow the long-distance migration of different species of sea turtles. So lots of cheers there. They are called Little Money, speaking of animal names, a 365-pound female green sea turtle, and Coco, a 215-pound male loggerhead. They joined a group of about 17 turtles that will race from August 1st to October 31st and be tracked online. The public can track the progress of the sea turtles online, so if you want to look that up. But look at that video. Wasn't that pretty cool there? All right, this next one will make you smile. Or tired. A Texas zoo welcoming a rare white lion cub. The 7-week-old cub named Luna is on public display at the Tiger Creek Animal Sanctuary in Tyler. She's one of fewer than 500 white lions left in the world. So what do you guys think about that? Super cute, huh?
I love it.
Very late in the week. And with Buddy jumping on the couch, the dog. Did you see when he looked back and he was like, look, he literally had a smile on his face.
He knew.
That was
Dogs
great.
just get it, you guys.
Yes,
Just
they
get
do.
it.
That was awesome.
Thanks, Pilar.
All right, Pilar.
Thank you.
Great way to wrap up the week.
Yes, that is a great way to finish, I think. I love animals. I love ending, all the horrible, sad stuff that we watch with the animals. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. Make sure you're following me on other stuff so you don't miss when I do stream, because I try to post and I do stream on Kick too, especially on the weekends. I appreciate you guys being here. I hope that you have a great evening, get some good sleep, and I love you all, and I will see you next time. Bye, all.